Let me ask you something. If you could be the greatest at one thing, just one, what would it be? Maybe the fastest runner alive. Maybe the richest person on earth. Maybe someone so powerful that entire armies bow at your name. People have been dreaming about that their whole lives, but there was one man, one king who was handed that exact opportunity. And what he chose changed everything. His name was Solomon. And before we talk about how wise he was, and trust me, we're going to get there, you need to understand where he came from. Solomon was the son of King David, one of the most celebrated kings in all of history. A warrior, a poet, a man after God's own heart. Growing up in that shadow? That's pressure, because everybody already had a picture in their heads of what a great king looked like, and it looked like his father. But David was gone now, and the throne, this enormous, heavy, terrifying throne, was Solomon's. He was young, he was untested, and the kingdom he'd just inherited wasn't small. Israel was vast. The people were many, the problems were endless, and somewhere in the quiet of all that weight, Solomon lay down and went to sleep. That night, God appeared to him in a dream, not a warning, not a command, an offer. Ask, God said, "What shall I give you?" Just like that, a blank check from God himself. Now, stop right there, because this is the moment everything depends on. What do you ask for when you can ask for anything? Most people, if we're being honest, would reach for the obvious: wealth, power, invincibility, an army no one could defeat, a treasury that never ran dry, and nobody would blame you. That's just human nature. But Solomon paused, and instead of reaching outward, he looked inward. He thought about the people sleeping in their homes across Israel that night, farmers and merchants, mothers and soldiers, all of them trusting that whoever sat on that throne would make good decisions on their behalf. He thought about the disputes that would land on his doorstep, the impossible choices, the wars that wisdom could prevent, and the wars that foolishness would start. He thought about his father, great and flawed and human, and what separated, a king who lasted from a king who was merely powerful. And then Solomon answered, "Give me an understanding heart," he said, "so I can lead your people well and know the difference between right and wrong, not gold, not glory, understanding." And here's what makes that request so extraordinary. Solomon didn't ask for wisdom because he was already wise. He asked for it because he knew he wasn't, and he was humble enough to admit it. That humility, that is wisdom before the wisdom even arrived. God's response was immediate. "Because you asked for this, and not for long life or riches or the defeat of your enemies, I will give you what you asked. I will give you a wise and discerning heart, unlike any before you or after you." But then God added something Solomon hadn't even asked for. "And because your heart was right, I will also give you what you did not ask for: riches, honor, fame, more than any king of your time." The man who refused to grab for everything ended up with everything, and it wasn't just a promise. History recorded the proof. Solomon's wealth became legendary. Gold flowed into Jerusalem the way water fills a river. His palace took 13 years to build. His temple, the first great temple of God, stood as one of the ancient world's most breathtaking structures. But the wealth? That was almost a footnote, because it was Solomon's wisdom that people traveled for. Queens left their palaces. Kings sent messengers with impossible riddles. Scholars made journeys of hundreds of miles, not to see his gold, but to sit in a room with him and listen. They wanted to hear how he thought. There's a story that captures it perfectly. 2 women came before Solomon, both claiming the same newborn baby was theirs. No witnesses, no proof, just 2 women and 1 child, and an impossible knot of a problem. A younger king might have panicked, delayed, passed the decision to someone. Else Solomon didn't flinch. He called for a sword. "Cut the child in 2, he said calmly. "Give half to one woman and half to the other." The room went silent. One woman nodded. Fine, if she couldn't have him, neither would anyone else. But the other woman, the real mother, cried out immediately, "No, give her the child. Let him live. Just don't harm him." And Solomon smiled because he already knew. "Give the child to her," he said. "She is his mother." He didn't need a trial. He didn't need evidence. He needed to understand the human heart, and he did. Solomon went on to write thousands of proverbs, short, sharp truths about life that people still quote today. Thousands of years later, He wrote about hard work and laziness, about the danger of pride, about what it means to be a true friend, about how the decisions you make in secret eventually show up in your life in public. He didn't just have wisdom, he shared it. He turned his understanding into words that outlived him by millennia. Here's what I want you to take away from Solomon's story. He stood at the crossroads that every human being eventually faces, the moment where you have to decide what you actually value, and he chose depth over flash, understanding over appearance, the ability to do right over the power to do anything. And the remarkable twist, everything he didn't ask for came anyway, because that's how it works. When you build the foundation, when you invest in wisdom, in understanding, in becoming someone whose judgment can actually be trusted, the rest tends to follow. Solomon didn't just become the wisest king who ever lived. He became proof that the best thing you can ask for is the ability to make good use of everything else.